Joining us now, Dana Loesch. She's the host of Dana on the Blaze TV and also the author of Hands Off My Gun, along with Bill Burton, who's the former White House Deputy Press Secretary under President Obama. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Obviously, all of our hearts go out to these grieving families and to our fellow journalists who lost their lives today. And you heard where the family's going with it. I'll just start with you, Dana, as somebody who is a staunch defender of the Second Amendment, on your reaction to what you heard.
It's heartbreaking. There is evil in this world. And Megan, first off, it's good to have you back. I was hearing on my radio program today, I have affiliates in Virginia, and I was hearing from people that were calling into my program. They saw this happen. They saw this happen on their televisions this morning, and they were sharing their experiences and their perspectives about it. You are always going to have criminals in this world, and you are always going to have people. Evil exists. Evil is real, and this is proof of it. My heart goes out to the families. My heart goes out to their colleagues as well. It's a terrifying thing, and this is the first social media murder, which creates a whole other new development.
And yet, Bill, you know, we didn't see anything done after, you know, what happened at an elementary school with a bunch of 6-year-olds. And so what are the odds of anything happening now?
You know, at my son's nursery school, after Sandy Hook, they added a second gate before you could get in that required 2 hands to open it, a lock on the top, a lock on the bottom, so that a gunman couldn't walk in with a gun. And I just think that if even at a nursery school that my 4-year-old son goes to, they can do something, the fact that lawmakers can't is disgusting. And I have to say, I agree with everything that Dana said. There is real evil in this world, and we saw it today. But Americans are slaughtering Americans every day with guns. And at some point, we got to do something about that.
But the question is what? I mean, they're talking about, you know, background checks and so on. The news tonight, Dana, is that he passed one.
Right. Yeah. Well, and at the time when you had McAuliffe and you had Hillary Clinton and everyone else who were making these remarks, we had no idea how he obtained it. If he passed a background check, then it goes to he had already had a dust up at work. We don't know what if he had a mental illness. We don't know anything about his mental history. And we already know, for the instance in Charleston, Megan, that individual, that murderer, passed a background check because the FBI failed to properly file documentation. We also know from our own Vice President Joe Biden that when you falsify information on Form 4473s, the very thing that you fill out when you get a background check every single time when you make a purchase, they're not even prosecuting individuals who are lying on those forms, which, Megan, is a felony.
And so the question is whether we're enforcing the laws as they exist in a meaningful way. But we are learning more about the shooter's background and what was known about him or should have been known about him, and the question about whether he should have been given a gun. He should have passed a background check. We're going to pick it up right after the break. Quick 2-minute break. Don't go away. Serious questions tonight about the killer in Virginia and whether he should have been able to get a gun. Dana Loesch and Bill Burton are back with me now. So that's the question, Dana. If he passed a background check, what laws could be tightened to prevent somebody like this from getting a gun?
Yeah, exactly. And if he passed a background check and there had already been questions about his behavior, then the question becomes, why wasn't this reported? As we saw in the Gifford shooting, you had an individual who had been kicked off Pima County Community College. It had been reported to the sheriff's office. Nobody followed up on it. Virginia Tech, same thing. The problem, Megan, that we see each and every single time is that you have an abundance of laws and you have people, including state and local officials, who do not follow those laws. And I want to bring up something really quickly as well. Everyone's focusing on the gun. Can we also bring up the fact that this was a racially charged, racially motivated crime by somebody who had a grievance? And I think that there is all too often a focus on the tool instead of the hate in someone's heart.
You know, we saw this, Bill, we've seen this in other cases where a disgruntled employee goes back to the place of business and takes the lives of his coworkers. I mean, we did a special on somebody who did it, and he beheaded a woman with a knife. You can take away the weapon, but shouldn't we be focusing on taking away the will to murder? And is that even possible in 2015 United States of America?
Well, it would be great if we could take away the will to murder, but the answer can't be do nothing. If people are repeatedly being killed with guns, there's not a lot of beheadings in the United States. There are random acts of violence that happen with weapons besides guns. but guns are what's at the center every single time. And yes, we should focus on the fact that that's the weapon being used, because more people get killed with guns in the United States than any other country in the world. And there has to be something that we can do about it. It can't just be, well, background checks can't save us every single time. It ought to be, what the heck are we going to do to save the United States of America from the gun problem that it has right now?
What about it, Dana?
We don't have a gun problem. We have a criminal problem. We have a society that thinks it's completely permissible to shirk responsibility. We have people who have no problem with what Planned Parenthood does in terms of fetal parts harvesting. We don't teach a respect for life. We glorify violence in movie, music, film, and books. This is what our society is. This is Frankenstein's monster. This is what society has created. It is a reflection of us. And as I said, criminals are always going to be with us. I've had my life protected with a gun. I don't want that right taken from me.
Thank you both for being here. Tough
Thank you, Megan.
story and tough night. Thank you both.
Thanks, Megan.